Okay, so a couple of housekeeping items. You should notice a significant improvement in my audio quality because oh, whoops, let me mute the other streams. I forget. Every time I forget this. But you guys should hear a noticeable improvement in my audio because I finally, spent the money to get a halfway decent mic, and you may or may not pick up the squeaky chair anymore. Let me see if I can prompt the. Anyway, so a lot of the background noise should be reduced, and now you can reap the benefits of the full range of my voice here. So hopefully that's of use to some people. So hope the volume's good. Hope the filters are good, and we should be able to just rock and roll through this thing. So let's go ahead and let's zoom out as we always do to the higher time frames here, and let's get rid of this shit here. First, let's start on the weekly because there's some interesting stuff going on in the weekly, and then we'll move down to like 3-day and 1-day stuff. Okay. So first things first, the weekly. Let me find my my stylus. I always forget where my stylus is. Here it is. Okay. So I got my stylus. All right, let's do it. So where are we at? There we go. Man, it's been a while since I did a stream. I checked the data on the last one, and it was like almost exactly 1 month ago. I've been trying to reduce the or improve the signal to noise ratio so that I'm not just posting shit for the sake of posting it, and I'm only commenting on the market when I feel like it's relevant. So not trying to overwhelm the space with just meaningless posts where I pretend like I know what's going on or think I know what's going on, and I don't know. That seems to be pretty rampant right now, but it's a bear market and people are bored, so I can't fault people too much, but it's just not my style. Anyway, let's go ahead and let's zoom in on this weekly chart, and we're looking at just standard settings on Ichimoku Cloud, and we've got the 50 and 200 EMA here, so 200, 50 EMA here, and of course we've got the lagging span over here. I'll break down the anatomy of the cloud real quick. So we've got the Chiku span, which is like the lagging. You see it's way back here, but then we also have the fast and slow moving averages equivalent for the cloud. Here, this is called the Tenkan, and this is the Kijun. And right now, interestingly enough, we see that we're getting a bit of interaction with both the weekly 50, so 50 EMA for the weekly, and then we also are getting a weekly interaction with the Tenkan, which is this blue guy, right? And at the moment, if we zoom in really close, we can see some interesting stuff going on with this bro right here. So although we haven't broken the 50 EMA, we have managed to close the weekly candle, which is this previous one, above the weekly Tenkan. So we closed right at the 50 EMA. You can see it right there. It's like a pixel below it. And but we did close above the Tenkan. So that's good. A close above the Tenkan and a close above the 50 would have been ideal, but we didn't get that. We don't always get what we want, but we see here that we had a similar sort of thing happen on the last little pop up in price, where it closed above the Tenkan, closed right at the 50, and did this little thing where it retraced heavily. So you can think about it like this. If you're trading higher time frames, this is something that should be perking your ears, as this is a pseudo trend changing sort of behavior, where previously we have been trending below the Tenkan. We see all this market activity down below here. And a couple of times we poked above it here, here, here. And now as the market is starting to flatten out, so is the Tenkin. You can see here it's trending and it's starting to flatten out. And now the market pokes it, and now we've poked it again. So what does that mean? Well, nothing right now, but there is a bit of resistance coming up right here with the weekly Kijun. And this is notably lower than the previous high. And if we can break above this price level, which is, you know, let's call this 7,900. 7,900. Sorry, 7,900. Then, well, that's very bullish. If we can break above it and hold support there, that's extra bullish. Okay, this price level, I'm going to make reference to this 7,900 several times because there's going to be a confluence of price action going on there for not only the cloud, but also a few other things which I'm about to talk about. Okay, so let's keep 7,900 in the back of our head as we go through these different time frames. Still notably way higher above the 200 EMA, not really relevant on the weekly. But if we can break above and hold support on the 50 EMA, it's another check in the bull column. So let's go ahead and go through the different time frames here. I'm going to skip the daily for the moment, and I'm going to go right to the 12-hour because I have something on here with all my shit here. Okay, so 7,900. Remember the number 7,900. I'm going to get rid of. I guess I don't need the Bollinger Bands on here. I'll need this, or this. Okay. And I don't know why TradingView is doing this stupid shit where it puts the scale on the left, but it needs to stop doing that. Okay. So here's a zoomed in version. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the 12-hour chart. And remember, keep in mind 7,900. I'm gonna write this up top, so I want you guys to remember this. 70. What the hell is that? I want red. 7,900. Okay, just remember this. So I'm in no particular order. I'm going to go through a list of things that we should be keeping an eye out for. One of which, and I'm sure a lot of people have pointed this out on Twitter, but is this downtrend line. Okay, let's make this another color. Let's make you blue, maybe light blue. Is that going to stand out better? Yeah, and make you maybe a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, downtrend line here in red. All right. It's been a point of interest here, 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 and now we're here again. Okay. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth time testing. So let's make a little list. Let's call this the DTL, the downtrend line. Let's say fifth test. Fifth test. Fifth test. Okay. DTL. All right. What else? If we look at, I have this box here for a reason. Not only because it's around, I'll show you how I derived this fib set right here, but this is the macro fib set that I've been tracking since we made our top back in December, and these fib lines have been relevant throughout the entire course of this bear market. Okay, most notably has been the 61. You can see we pivoted. One, two. Okay, I don't want to say pivot. Pivot's the wrong word. It's been a level of support, temporary support, and temporary resistance several times, and you can see we've played off of it multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we're going in for our 8th test of this sort of dealio here. So let's say 61 fib, 8th test. 8th. God, I can't hold my pen still because I drank way too much coffee and my hand's just like freaking out in my hand. My pen is freaking out in my hand right now. My mind is just like going haywire right now. Okay, so 61% macro. Yeah, that's good. Okay, what else? If we zoom out to the, if you like to use price level volume, like the volume flow, which is, whoa, why are my colors like that? All right, I don't hate it. Let's roll with it. Okay. So if we look at this price level from a volume standpoint, right around, this is 8,200, which is right where we see this significant pivot as well. Then where'd my thing go? Then we can say volume by price level. What did I say? 8,100, which is basically this level right here. I'll make a little note of here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh no, it was actually lower than that, wasn't it? Because it was like, it'll be like right here. So right here, 8,100. So let's say volume flow. So V. Let's make it down here. V flow. Jesus. V flow. Not there yet, but coming up on our, which is going to be 1. If we extend this, let's extend this line somewhere like that. Oh my God, that might be the most perfect line ever drawn by hand. Damn, that was a good line. So we see here it's played off of it a fucking bajillion times, right? So V flow 1,000th test, right? So this price span of activity from here to here, and what did I say earlier? 7,900 is very, very important, because if we can break above that and hold it, then that is, in my mind, a trend-changing behavior. Okay. Up until now, we have yet to actually hold support above this band of prices here. Okay. So basically, this band of prices, starting from this little bottom of my red box to 8,100, this band of prices in here, we have yet to actually hold support. We've broken above it several times, right? So we've broken above it, but every time we come back down to test it, we break through. We've broken above it, came back down, tested it, broke through, broke above it, came back down, tested it, and broke through. And now we're coming back for our, so 1, 2, 3, 4th test. If we can break above this price level and hold support, that is huge. That is a very big deal. Okay. And this isn't just on a micro level. This is on a macro level, on weekly trends. If we can break above that, break out of this, first of all, break out of this downtrend, right, which we're testing right now, break above the 61 fib, and find support on this price level, which happens to be, again, the 1 week 50 EMA and the 1 week Tenkan, then we're in some serious business. It also happens to be the 1 week Kijun, mind you. Remember, if we go back and look at the weekly Kijun, 1 week, where is that price level? It's at, boom, 7,900. So that would be huge. That would be gigantic. And I would fully expect to see, I'm not going to say a full-blown bull market initiation sort of thing, but I would at least expect a sizable rally. I don't think it would have something parabolic or something, that everyone's kind of expecting that it's going to, like, once we break out of the bear market, it's just going to go parabolic again. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Maybe it does, but there's just a lot of shit that we got to break through first. One thing to note is just that It's totally possible that we break the downtrend and we just, fall flat and test support, hold it, and then just trend sideways. Like that's totally possible as well. But nonetheless, that like the next few $100, the next $1,000 price range is huge. And if we can break above it and hold support, that is gigantic. That is, and that would be the biggest thing that's happened this year so far, in my opinion. Okay, I just said a bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and look at some questions here. I know you don't really look at the MACD anymore, but it just crossed on the weekly. Any thoughts? So no, I don't have any thoughts on that because the MACD is a momentum indicator. And let's get rid of you. Boom. And as you can see, we've been going sideways, so that doesn't really mean anything. All this means is that the market is consolidated. That doesn't mean that it's going to initiate a bull run. So he's talking about this right here. This guy. He's talking about how it flipped on the weekly and it's trending upward. But that doesn't really mean a whole lot because the market is sideways, and MACD is a shit indicator in a sideways market. What confused me was the immense sell-off volume from 8.5K. Yeah, so you're talking about this thing. I don't want you. Where's my just normal shit? All right, so you're talking about this thing, this sell-off right here. Yeah, so that's totally possible that is a shakeout. We see that it had unrelenting selling pressure, and now it's just kind of drifting right back up. This is totally possible that this is from a Wyckoff perspective. If we look at this, as the trading range, right? The trading range would be outlined in blue. So upper boundary of the trading range, lower boundary of the trading range. This, from a Wyckoff perspective, this would be called a change of character. So we can see here that it's just kind of just doing like this sort of like meandering thing as it goes up. And that's the first time we've done that this year. There's no big sell-offs, no big buy spikes, nothing. It's just kind of meandering upward, just slowly going upward, which makes me think that this rising wedge is actually a bear trap, and it's gonna blow out of the top. That would be my honest guess. Because if we look at the long to short ratio at the current state of the market, we see that sells have picked up, or shorts have picked up big time at this price level. Right as we're making this like test of the high, the shorts really picked up. They picked up 50% almost in a very short period of time, right here, right on that spike, and they're still underwater. So it's totally possible that we're going to get a big ass short squeeze and blow right out of the top of this rising wedge, and that would be, that would send us testing that price level that I was talking about between basically between here and 8,100. So in here, because there's a lot of short pressure that could easily squeeze us right out of the top, and we could see something like this just blow right out of the top. So a lot of stuff is being cooped up right now, from both a Wyckoff perspective and just a volume and price level perspective as well. What do you think about the whale buying up spot on Bitfinex? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Is there a whale buying up Bitcoin? I honestly do not pay attention to that kind of shit. I think that there's just way too much noise, and people are finding... I don't think it's tradable information. Like, what are you going to do with that? Is that going to affect whether or not you buy or sell? Maybe. But like I find that to be about as similar as people being like, oh, fresh tethers got printed, time for a pump, and it's like nothing ever happens. People, like, because it's happened a few times, people find the they find meaning in what is otherwise meaningless noise, and they just look for a reason for why the market is behaving the way it is, rather than just trading what's in front of you. Could you talk about differentiating between seeing Bitcoin lately as a falling wedge versus a descending triangle? I'm assuming you're talking about the macro trend, this thing. I do not think this is a falling wedge at all. I think this is a descending triangle, if anything. It's not really a falling wedge because there's only 2 points on it, right? If this would have come down and made a new low, then that would be one thing, but it's not doing that. It's a descending triangle, right? And it's actually like so the thing with descending triangles is they like to break out approximately 66% of the way, so 2/3 of the length of the triangle. And if we extend this thing, I gotta unlock this. Oh no, it's already unlocked. Cool. If we extend this thing, you know, thereabouts, however you want to draw this stupid thing. It's not it. It's more like right there. Then we're about, 66 to 75% of the way through the length of this triangle. And what I mean by that is if we extend this, unlock you. If we extend this thing, and, we measure the length of this. Damn, that was a really good line. Dude, I'm on fucking fire today with these lines. Look at that. No deviation in thickness. Jesus. We're about 2/3 of the way. So, this would be, if this is L, this distance would be, basically 2/3 L for all you bros out there. You see this is like 2/3 L approximately, thereabouts, which means it's ripe for a breakout. And in my experience, I personally trade descending and ascending triangles like symmetrical triangles because the difference in rate at which they break out is marginal, and you can have a breakout to the top, and that wouldn't be just like the most obscene thing in the world. So we're 2/3 of the way through this thing. Maybe it breaks out, it fakes out, and it comes back down. But like I said, I'm keeping a heavy eye on this, and if we break out and we plow through some price levels, then expect to retrace to find support, and then if it finds support, a continuation of the uptrend, obviously. But I definitely view this as a descending triangle and not a falling wedge. It doesn't matter, honestly. They have the same price target. It really doesn't fucking matter if you use a falling wedge. People just like to get their panties in a wad. It's like, well, technically it's a falling wedge. Peter Brandt likes to flex nuts on people about classical charting patterns, but it's a little pedantic in my opinion. Okay, here's a question. If we do not break above 7.9K convincingly, is there a case for sideways action or upward action, or would you expect a big sell-off? If we do not break above 7.9K convincingly. So the question is, the price level here, 7.9K, basically, right here. If we do not break above this convincingly, meaning we break above it on low volume or whatever, and we don't hold support, I would expect to see some heavy selling pressure kick in, because that would be a false breakout. Again, you could see a breakout and a retest of this thing, and then a push upward. That's also an option. But I'm looking at this more of like a do or die kind of thing. If we break above this and we don't hold, I'm expecting I would honestly expect heavy selling pressure and this support not to hold again. I think it would, if we broke back through, if we broke out, retested this, plowed through this, I would expect this support level to fail, personally. But that's just speculation. That's just me rubbing my crystal ball, and nothing that is trade worthy sort of information at the moment. We got another question here. Will the descending triangle pattern be invalidated if it goes sideways too far? Like in this case, there looks like there won't be enough time for a downward breakdown. So you talking about like if it gets more tightly wound, like in here, something like that? No, it doesn't get invalidated. It just has a longer consolidation period. If it goes sideways here and it starts to meander here, then yeah, it would start to invalidate the pattern. But I don't know of any hard rules that say if once it reaches 0.8 L or 0.9 L that it's like all of a sudden invalidated. That just to me is a more consolidated market, meaning that the breakout will be larger in whatever direction it decides to go. What else? What are your thoughts on the equity markets and possible correlation with Bitcoin? I think that there's a definite correlation. I don't know why people insist on trying to argue that there isn't one, because I mean, I do understand why people want to argue that there isn't one, because people want to think that they're in on something unique and transcendent in terms of like, the traditional space. They're trying to break the shackles of the man, and they don't want to be associated with the traditional markets. But here's the cold hard facts, guys. Who are the people investing in Bitcoin? Okay, these are the same people who have jobs. They have 9 to 5s, right? Yes, there are large investment banks that are also doing this, but that's no different than any other asset. But the cold hard facts are this, right? If the stock market goes into a bear market and we see the Dow Jones and all these indices just like tanking, the housing market bubble pops and all this other sort of shit happens, the last thing someone's going to do when they're trying to put food on the table for their family is buy fucking Bitcoin. Okay? They're not going to buy some hyper volatile asset when they're worried about whether or not they're going to keep their job. So to sit there and say that they're not correlated is just nonsense. There's no way that they aren't correlated, because the human beings that are buying stocks are also buying crypto. It's not one or the other. It's both. If you have a 401k, guess what? It's most likely, partially vested in some sphere of the traditional markets, whether it's gold, whether it's stocks, whatever. The last thing someone's going to want to do when they're worried about keeping their job is buy something that isn't holding value and something that claims that it's a quote unquote store of value. Well, it's been a store of value for everyone that bought under 73.63, right? And then people are going to say, "Well, you're not looking at a big picture enough." Dude, here's if you're losing your job, you're not going to give a fuck about the 5-year outlook of Bitcoin. You're going to be you're going to try to keep your job, right? Like you're going to be looking for a job. You're not going to be investing in speculative assets, right? Like this sort of thing is just, it's so, it reeks of the hubris of the tech atmosphere, of like just people that are so disconnected with what other people actually think. They're like, no, this is new and different. Yeah, Bitcoin, the technology is new and different, but investing is as old as fuck, right? Investing in general, the psychology behind investing is old as the day is long, and is not unique to Bitcoin. You can't watch show due to profanity. Okay, well, you tuned into the wrong stream. Sorry. What are your thoughts? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Do you give any fucks about divergences? I see many people post something about it. Yeah, so yeah, for sure. Divergence can mean a number of things. You can have momentum divergence. You can have volumetric divergence, which is just a more base level of momentum divergence. Yeah, for sure. Like if I see a trend rising on decreasing volume, or the opposite, I see a trend rising on increasing volume and an increasing spread, meaning the candles are wide, then that's good, right? But if I see something diverging, like say right now, if I'll paint you a scenario real quick. If you see price rising, right? So say we're in this rising wedge, and price is rising, and volume is very clearly going down. That is typically an indication that that this is like a bear trap sort of, a bull trap sort of thing, and we're actually going to break down. That's not really what we see here. That's why I kind of think that we're going to break up ultimately. But you can see here that we're starting to see some eager bears shorting this area because it's, again, the downtrend line and all that stuff. Yeah, maybe, except for volume. I feel like everything else is S. Yeah, so right now, and here's the thing. If you're trading traditional indicators like RSI or MACD or stochastic RSI, then in a bear market, I find those indicators to be very unreliable. But if you use something like Bollinger Bands, for example, and you trade divergences, like a really common divergence for Bollinger Bands is in the form of, I trade these all the time, is in the form of a W bottom. And here's an example. I'll see if I can find a daily example of a W bottom, or an M top is a really good one too. So here's an M top. Okay. This is a great example of an M top. This is a form of divergence using Bollinger Bands, and I find them to be the most accurate out of the momentum indicators. So also volatility indicator, but we're not going to go into that. So we see here that first high poked out of the Bollinger Band, second high was inside the Bollinger Bands. It made a higher high, but relative to the Bollinger Bands, it did not, hence divergence. And we see here a macro trend reversal all the way to the downside until it made kind of a shitty B-Bands W bottom. Not the best W bottom here, but again, a temporary reversal. So Bollinger Bands are really great in both bull and bear markets. But I find that in bear markets, MACD and RSI and stochastic RSI, it's just like a roll of the dice. It's like, well, maybe it's going to behave like I'm expecting it. Maybe it won't. But I mean, it's also possible that I'm just not good at using it. So I'm not going to shit on, if you're making money using those indicators, then cool. I just don't find them to be particularly useful. But if you're using them with success, then cool. Whatever's making you money, that's the end goal, right? Anyone else have any other questions about this stuff? Dumping, baby. Yeah. So part of the reason why I haven't been streaming as much is because I honestly haven't been trading as much. I've been probably making like maximum 1 or 2 trades a week for crypto. I've mostly been trading Forex and stocks. But I'm only trading higher time frame shit for Bitcoin, and some of the lower time frame alts I'll play, scalp plays, but I haven't been trading these lower time frame Bitcoin stuff because of this. People get really excited that it pulled back $50, and it's like, well, who gives a shit? Like, it's not really. It could do this or it could do this. This giant green thing or giant red thing, and it's just not worth my time or effort to play this like sort of chop things. Especially not with the trade strategy I use personally. I do know people in my trading group that they have a different trade strategy, and they've been trading this stuff with a high degree of success. So I'm not going to shit on people who are doing it, but just personally for my trade strategy, it just doesn't work well. So I've just been trading higher time frames and then trading, forex and stocks on lower time frames. And once this breaks out of the downtrend and resumes a less trappy bear market, then I'll start trading the low time frame stuff. But until then, it's just not worth the mental space for me personally. What pairs do you trade on Forex? I predominantly trade Euro, USD, Euro, Japanese yen, some Canadian dollar, and right now I've got a fat long open on the South African Rand USD. It's up like 400% almost right now. It's really taking off. And all that stuff is posted on one broker. So if you're interested in following my stocks or my Forex ventures, then go to one broker and follow me. I'll post a link to that in here right now. Let's see. So if you'd like to check me out on one broker and copy my trades and all that stuff, then yeah, use that. Wait, what? Error? Why is that? Let's give me an error. Okay, let's try this here. Why is it? It's giving me an error, and I don't understand why. Apparently, I can't post in my own chat. That's it. Oh, you know what? Is it? Oh, it's in my description. I'm an idiot. Check out the description of this video. You can copy my referral link there. And give me 0.0000001% of a trade or whatever it does. But yeah, most importantly, if you sign up there, you can copy my trades and all that stuff. So, what else? What are your general Wyckoff outlook? I kind of covered that. No. If you're not already going to do it, oh yeah. So I'll cover a couple alts. I'm not going to do the full spread because they're all kind of just all over the place. But I'll cover some of the major ones. So here's Ether. Ether is setting up. Let me move my fibs. So check out the current price level for Ether. It is just slowly making its way down to the 78% fib line, which again happens to be a significant price level. So if we look here throughout Ether's history, it's interacted with it several times. And I believe if we look at the volume level, this is a point of significance as well. So yeah, you see it's got like a little node thing, a little bro node. But if you look at the B-bands on the daily, it's actually setting up a really, well, no, it's not anymore. It was setting up a W bottom, but it just kind of just kept falling, didn't it? Yeah. So right now, Ether's coming up on a support test on the 78 fib line. So might see a decent risk to reward on a long there. What am I looking for here? Also, if you like to play pivots and stuff, let's take a look at like the yearly. Oops, not the yearly. Let's look at the monthly pivots. So monthly support's very far away here. And how does the yearly look? Nowhere in sight. So maybe it just keeps falling, But if we look at the cloud, let's see what it shows. It's starting to get very overextended from the Kijun here, as it just continues to fall and fall and fall, which means it's approaching an oversold level. But things can remain oversold for a long period of time, so that's not necessarily a buy indicator, but something just to keep an eye on in general as it comes into this support test right here. A quote unquote so-called support test. So someone's asking, I mean, in what you would like to see after 79K retest? Is the mic volume low for you? Because it's not showing low for me, and I can hear it in my ears. It might just be you, man. You guys told me the levels were good, so it's on you. I trusted you. What about Ether USD? Let's look at it. The mic level's low. I mean, it's, you might want to just turn your volume up. I don't know what to tell you. So someone's asking about Ether USD. Oh yeah, Ether USD. Let's go ahead and look at this guy. So Ether USD is making a bit of a bear pennant at the moment. But here's the thing. So bear pennant, Delio, B bands are consolidating here. You can see they're starting to squeeze. These are daily candles, mind you. So something to keep in mind is that if Bitcoin breaks upward, then that means this is a giant bear trap, and everyone's going to get sucked into this so-called bear pennant. And if Bitcoin does break up, then that means Ether USD is most likely going to break up and push right out of this, which lines up well with the Ether Bitcoin. What was it? The 78% fib test. 78% fib test, which is like right now. You know, it's happening right now. So that might be the catalyst that pushes this out. So it's very possible that this pennant right here is a bear trap. This is part of the reason why I haven't been trading much in the bear market, is because it's like, oh, you see this beautiful bear pennant, and then it just goes and pops right at the top, and that happens all the time. That happens a lot in this market. So, just be careful. If you're looking to short this, keep in mind that there is an option that it breaks out at the top if Bitcoin breaks up. So, just as Bitcoin goes to these tests of those levels that I was talking about earlier, between now and 8.1K, I expect to see some turbulence as the bears try to win over, Could you take a look at VET? The hell is that? It's releasing big announcements tomorrow. Sure, why not? Oh, is that a stock? Which one? The stock or the crypto? Oh, it's on Bitfinex. What? God, Bitfinex has added so many random. Whoa. It's not on Bittrex? What the hell is this thing? This looks like a shit coin for sure. Why is this not locking? Oh my god. I'm not. Sorry. I'm not looking at this one. This is like, it's got like 2 days worth of price history. Could you look at Zcash? Yeah, Zcash is actually pretty interesting. because it's in a, let's look at it. So if you look at it on a really high time frame, I don't know why I put Bollinger Bands on there. If you look at it on a really high, God damn it. If you look at it on a really high time frame, then was it Zcash USD? Is that what I want to look at? Yeah. So this is really interesting. If you look at it on a really high time frame, it just made a humongous head and shoulders. Right here. So shoulder, head, shoulder, throwback right here. So Zcash might be going to fucking zero because the price target of this is a negative number. But if you look at it from like a Wyckoff, perspective, get out of here, Jesus. Which has a longer history? Bittrex. Wow, this looks like it's covered in hair. It's also possible that this is doing a reaccumulation. So if we look at it, get it out of here. If you look at this like a trading range, like this, where this is the trading range, we see very clear volume consolidation here. And we also see a low volume. This would be considered a spring. So we see a low volume spring. It makes a new low for the first time in a year, basically, over a year. And there's just no volume here. So this could be argued that this is a low volume spring as we return back to the trading range. And what would follow next would be a jump across the creek. And not to beat a dead horse, but again, if Bitcoin shows a major sign of strength here and breaks those resistance levels, that would be a very great catalyst for a jump across the creek as the price goes up, right? The jump across the creek would look something like, here's the creek, boom. The jump across the creek would be confirmed by something like this, right? Something like this, where you see large candle spread, high volume, relatively high volume. And as we go over here, we would see a noticeable uptick in volume, something like this, and a large candle spread, meaning a long body. And that would obviously clear this creek sort of thing here. So Zcash is potentially in a really good buy zone at the moment, USD wise. And let's go back to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin pair. Whoa, look at that wick. Again, if we look at the Bitcoin pair, it actually kind of looks like, I haven't looked at this chart in a couple of days. It kind of looks like a little inverted head and shoulders sort of thing here on the Bitcoin pair. So, this looks like an accumulation. We see consolidating volume. We see, inverted head and shoulders set up. This could be a great buy as well. Zcash could finally see the breakout everyone's been waiting for. So keep an eye out for Zcash. XLM has a symmetrical triangle forming. Any thoughts? Yeah, I actually own some XLM, which I bought prematurely, but I just never sold it because I was lazy as fuck. It's not looking much like a symmetrical triangle anymore, though, is it? Kind of just fell right out of the bottom. Something like that. Oh, on USD? You guys got to be more specific. Killing me. That doesn't look any better. You're saying on Bitfinex? What? Oh my god, you guys are killing me. Don't put fractions of sentences. I can't like parse through multiple trains of thought as I'm looking at different people's messages. Like, give me a time frame and give me a pair, not just, hey, stellar lumens is making a symmetrical triangle. Like, give me a time frame so I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about this? If that's what you're talking about, I don't really know that this is a symmetrical triangle. Okay, I'm not looking at 1 hour time frames. Bittrex USD 1 hour time frame. Yeah, I'm not going to look at anything smaller than like a 6 hour frame for these alts. That just seems too volatile to do that. I'm assuming you mean this sort of thing. Oh, I saw you messaging Schmo Joe about the traditional markets, and I'll talk about some of that stuff too. But most of these people are here to see crypto, so got to please the masses, right? All right. Anything else before I go to the talk about stocks and stuff? What's going on? MFlow 786. Equities would be very nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally down to talk about equities since it's mostly what I'm trading. And it has the cleanest charts. When would you decide to throw in shorts for Bitcoin? Let me go back to my chart here. I would consider shorting if it broke back below the daily Tenkan. If it closed below the daily Tenkan. So oh, sorry, weekly, not daily. Get my charts mixed up. If it closed back below the weekly Tenkan here at 70, if the weekly closed at 70, basically below 7,200, if it has a strong close, like something like this, or what else? Something like this, where it has a definitive close below the Tenkan, that would be a pretty good short signal. Because each time we've closed below the daily, god damn it, each time we close below the weekly Tenkan, then we've seen a pretty significant drop in price. Any important level breaks, you think? I'm guessing that was an old question because I just answered that. What's Ether's long-term prospects in your opinion? Like technology-wise? That's a really vague question. What do you mean? And like define long-term. Like a couple weeks, couple years, couple months. What's the long-term? Double top on daily Bitcoin, USD. What? I'm not sure what you're talking about. I.e. bullish, bearish over the next year for Ether? Next year? Jesus. Well, I'll just say this. I do not see signs of accumulation. I do not see... I'll tell you what I'd like to see. And this is the Bitcoin ratio, so keep that in mind. Let's go to... What is all Poloniex? Let's go to Poloniex. So, I would like to see, ideally, an accumulation trading range. You can make an argument. Jesus, that volume's consolidated. You can make an argument that this is a sort of accumulation trading range. You know, like if you got a little trend line here, whatever, however you want to draw it. But what I'd like to see is something like this, like a very well-defined trading range, not a slow bleed. A slow bleed can just go on forever, right? Like this can easily become this, where it just continues to bleed until it finally makes a trading range here. You know, like this. This is a very nice trading range right here. This is nice. Nice little accumulation trading range there. Had a shakeout, spring, a jump across the creek, a last point of supply, last point of support test, sign of strength, blah blah blah, and then humongous markup, right? So this is what I'd like to see. And that's not what we're seeing here. Like, there's no indication that Ether is finding any sort of a bottom long term. So I'm sure Ether USD will perform at or below the performance of Bitcoin per the chart, right? We're looking at Ether Bitcoin. And the purpose for why we look at the Bitcoin pairs is because we want to see how it's going to perform relative to the market standard, and the market standard is Bitcoin. So if you're looking at like where to throw your money, obviously, according to this chart, you wouldn't want to throw your money at Ether USD. You'd want to throw it at Bitcoin USD. Just because the slow bleed indicates no sign of a bottom. It's slow. You guys should really follow this guy, Tom Dante, or Dante, however he pronounces his name, on Twitter, and he has really good videos, and he words this perfectly. The slow bleed of death is what he calls it, where a market doesn't find an impulse, a sudden move into a level, because that's how you shake people out. A slow grinding market is not what you want to be involved in, unless it's a slowly upward grinding market and you're long, right? You do not want to be longing this because there's literally no way to know where the actual bottom is, right? Sure, people are going to be like, oh man, Vitalik is doing an X, Y, or Z, and there will be like short-term little rallies, blah blah. But long-term outlook, it shows no sign of finding a bottom anytime soon. And that makes perfect sense. I mean, Ether rallied from like $8 to, over $1,000 over the span of a year. A literal 10 billion% increase. So I'm personally not extremely bullish long term for Ether. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I mean, it is coming up on a pretty significant level here, right? This is the one we were talking about earlier. This is the 78% fib line. But it's totally possible that it just bleeds all the way through. It just keeps going, right? Like here, if you look at this last bleed, I'm sure people were like, oh man, it's coming into a level, and it dips below it and dips below it. So until we find some sort of a bottom here, some sort of trading range that gives an indication of accumulation, I see no reason to be throwing money at Ether rather than Bitcoin at the moment. Ether is looking grim from fundamentals and technicals. I don't know anything about its fundamentals. I haven't been keeping track of that. I just know that like they've been reducing the mining rewards slowly but steadily, and that's about all I got for that. Is the Bitcoin bear flag invalidated? What Bitcoin bear flag? I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm going to cry if it bleeds all the way back down. Started buying at 40 and stopped at 700. DCA of 200. So why are you going to cry? Why don't you just sell it or trade it in for Bitcoin? You don't have to hold coins just because you bought them. I don't understand that. That's why you learn how to trade, so that you can avoid crying like that. Because crying is embarrassing. It's healthy, but it's embarrassing. Equities. This guy's been hanging in there so patiently. He's been waiting for me to talk about equities this whole time. And we got a couple of people fighting in the comment section. Okay, I'll just go ahead and leave you guys to it while I... some guy on Twitch is super butthurt that I don't know about VeChain. I don't really know why that has anything to do with trading. Sorry, don't mean to be rude, but thinking VeChain, Ven, Vet, etc. is a shitcoin and knowing nothing about it is very amateur. Again, don't mean to be rude. VeChain is a long-term bullish type of crypto, very similar to larger coin nowadays being 2 to 3 years ago. Okay. I'm just looking at the chart, bro. I really don't give a shit about the tech. To be honest with you, I don't really give a shit about any of the tech of this stuff. I'm just trading it. I'm looking for ways to make money on it. That's why I trade stocks. That's why I trade Forex. I'll trade anything with a good chart. And what I just saw was not a good chart or anything I wanted to look at. So I'm sorry if you feel like that is an amateur, but that literally has nothing to do with the ability to trade a chart. Knowing the tech or understanding what VeChain is has nothing to do with whether or not I can make money off of it. So cry elsewhere. Be an elitist elsewhere. I really don't give a shit. All alts are shitcoin pet rocks. Yeah. I know. I mean, considering like I don't want to get into it. I don't care enough. All I'll say is I'm a Dogecoin maximalist. Debate me. All right. Any other stuff you want to look at before I go to the equities? Because I've got a guy in here that's just been very patient, and I feel obligated to talk about some equities at some point. Thoughts on Bitcoin Cash? Yeah, we'll talk about Bitcoin Cash. Talk about Roger Coin. What chart? I have it here. Jesus, these Bollinger Bands are getting blown out. So, and I need to update my charts on Bitcoin Cash. What does a 12-hour chart look like? So, yeah, so, sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. and find something pseudo useful. So it kind of looks like it's setting up an inverted head and shoulders, doesn't it? We got a shoulder, head, shoulder, setup. Emphasis on the word setup there. But it's got a really nice neckline. It's got a really nice left shoulder and head. Neckline would be here. That's the horizontal neckline. The downward sloping neckline is here. So it does have a really nice setup. It does look a bit like an accumulation trading range too. So this is actually a decent chart here. So let's go ahead and draw on this. So Bitcoin Cash does look like it's doing a bit of the accumulation dance here. So here it would be in the form of an inverted head and shoulders, like that. Here would be the selling climax, the automatic reaction, secondary test. This would be the creek, right? Here's a spring, a second spring on lower volume. So volume is like no volume here, and then obviously a huge jump across the creek. So here again, here's the creek. Jump across the creek is this JAC, and now it's most likely going to see a little bit of a pullback, which is beautiful. That's what we would want to see. So let's zoom in here. Typically, the most you want to see a jump across the creek retrace is a 50% retracement. And it's already retraced 38. Maybe it'll go to 61. 61 is like the absolute deepest we would want to see. Anything deeper than a 61 tells you that there's a lot of supply in the market. Maybe we'll get a wick down to like a 78 or something, but I definitely don't want to see a sustained selling pressure there. Maybe we'll get a shakeout of some sort where it pops down and comes back up. But you can see here that the 61, if extended, or even the 50, if extended, would make a really nice right shoulder. So this Bitcoin Cash looks really nice from a short-term perspective, which could ultimately lead into a long-term perspective as well. So this is 4-hour candles with a pretty nice price target. What would be, if it, again, it's a setup. It's just a setup. So wait for the right shoulder to form and then the breakout if you're trying to do that. 16% move. So 1560. So price target would be somewhere up here. So 0.107-ish, that area would be the approximate price target of this breakout. So keep an eye on Bitcoin Cash. It's I might see a decent move. Bitcoin Cash might have Operation Dragon Slayer event soon. Keep an eye on that. Apparently the dormant 110K Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Really appreciate you talking about this, by the way. I've been wondering about it. Of course. No problem. Again, I don't give a shit if Roger Ver is, you know, chopping down trees in the rainforest. If I can trade the chart, I'm going to trade it. I don't care about the tech, and I don't care about the politics behind it. I care about making the money off the coin. That's all I care about. Do I want to talk about? All right, let's talk about Litecoin. So let's look at the daily chart, because I have this thing labeled. Might as well. So this still, in my opinion, I guess this would be last point of support. This would get rid of that. So if we're looking at this on a macro perspective for Litecoin, it actually looks like still looks like a giant reaccumulation trading range. Okay, where this would be your buying climax, your automatic reaction, your secondary test, secondary test, secondary test. This would be a spring. This whole thing would basically be a spring / shakeout. So let's say spring / shakeout, SO, shakeout. Right? And then we see a sign of strength here where it jumps across the creek. This would be a creek. Boom, boom, boom. And now we see another slow bleed where people are just selling, they're capitulating, they're saying Litecoin's dead. And right now we would be sitting right in the spring. So a lot of times trading, not a lot of times, but sometimes trading ranges can have more than one spring, which would make this a potentially decent buying opportunity. The only problem with springs is that you don't know you're in a spring until it's not a spring. So it's highly speculative. It's got a good risk to reward long term, but you know, this could easily keep going down into a shakeout, or maybe it's just not a reaccumulation trading range and it just keeps going down. Right? This is all setups. These are all setups here. So if Litecoin, if Bitcoin breaks out north and starts to see a strong rally, I would expect this to be the catalyst for why this could be argued to be a spring and why we would see a nice surge of buying pressure coming in. So I haven't looked at the Litecoin USD chart in a while, but last time I checked, it was shitting its brains out from the bottom of a this thing. A giant. Damn, it dropped down to $40 at one point. That's crazy. Yeah. Crazy times. Yeah, so it's kind of just copying what Bitcoin was doing, but the Litecoin Bitcoin chart is where the real information is hidden, in my opinion. So potential spring setup for Litecoin Bitcoin. Again, potential. I've also been if we go back to the Litecoin Bitcoin chart, I've also been expecting it to break out for a while now. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, you know. What? Oh. Take it with a grain of salt, right? Like this is a setup, and it's sitting below the trading range, and it's very low volume coming out of the bottom of it, which is what we'd like to see for a low volume spring, which means that supply is properly absorbed and it's just waiting for the catalyst to see a strong move. That would be the setup for Litecoin. Okay. All right, I've been talking for the past hour and a half. Let's run through some equities charts, and then I gotta go eat some lunch because I gotta go train some jiu-jitsu later. So let's. You wanted to look at Nvidia? Let's look at Nvidia. So, right, it was Nvidia, right? You said there was a 4-hour M top. And sure as shit, there is really nice M top. Ooh, I might short that actually. That is a really good setup. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what an M top is, let's go ahead and take a look here. M top. So we see a high outside the Bollinger Bands, high inside the Bollinger Bands, and it's got a really nice reversal candle it's working on here. So this could be a really nice entry for a long-term Nvidia play, where the price target would be, what is this, 270-ish, right? So I might jump on the short right after this stream and short that real quick. It'd be a nice couple of day hold for a short. Thanks for pointing that out. And then you were saying the Cisco daily M. Let's look at it. I really hate trading Cisco. It's been burning me big time the past few times I've traded it. Okay, so This is risky. Yes, there's a daily M-top setup, but it's kind of sloppy. What I'd like to see, if I were going to initiate a short or try to call a top here, I would like to see these B-bands starting to curve around a little bit here. You can see that the BBW is flattening out, but this could stay flat for a while, which means that these B-bands could keep going up and the price could keep going up. So I don't like this setup as much, but that NVIDIA M-top is beautiful. I'll be shorting that as soon as we get off the stream. Any other equities markets you wanted to talk about? Man, Cisco had one hell of a run. I remember shorting it down here. I haven't, ever since I got burned on Cisco, I just haven't been watching the chart on it because it's just so hard to trade. It behaves very weirdly. Man, that is a huge gap too. What is that? Jesus. 3% gap? It never got filled either. What a monster. What was its earnings? Oh, Jesus. That's why. 40% surprise? That's crazy. SPX. Yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, so it made an all-time high. And yeah, it actually doesn't look that bad, to be honest with you. So it made a new all-time high. Right as Bitcoin hit its little bottom thing. It did gap up. Maybe it'll fill it and retest support because we have yet to do that. So here's the support here. Resistance. Let's see if it retests that. But S&P looks really good. Like I don't see any immediate signs of a reversal. SMI is showing some divergence, but things can diverge indefinitely. So that's not anything to worry about. Cloud. What does a cloud look like? Cloud looks bullish as shit on the daily. We see the Chiku span is trending above the price. We see Tenkin above the Kijun, the price above the Tenkin. Maybe it's sitting right on it. We see a nice daily retest on there. So maybe that's all you get. Maybe you don't retest here and it just keeps going, but definitely see a test on that daily Tenkin. But S&P looks very bullish right now. What else? QQQ. QQQ. Same story. Same story. Macro looks very good. You know, price is really respecting the 50 EMA, the daily 50 EMA, and very respecting the daily Kijun there. This looks healthy as shit. I see no signs that it's like sickly in any way. Not 6 hour, 240. Yeah, it looks really good. AMD up another. Is AMD really up another 10%? I was gonna buy that. Oh my god, you savage. Damn, I was gonna buy that right there too. Shit. I didn't get a chance to. I was waiting for the monthly close, and because the monthly close is always so awkward, and it gapped up, and I thought I was gonna see a retrace. I didn't check it today. What does the B bands look like? Potential 4-hour B bands M top, but I doubt that actually. I doubt that plays out. This is most likely not going to play out. It's on a momentum gap, so it gaps up and it keeps going. It's most likely just going to keep running, honestly. Yeah, 8 years of consolidation. AMD going 30 plus. Yeah, I know. Man, I'm really butthurt that I missed my entry for this because I was calling this play by play on the accumulation breakout, and I just never bought it because I was being an idiot. And now it's up 2x. But you know, you miss some, you win some. Man, yeah, AMD is just a monster. I mean, 8 years of consolidation, it's definitely going over $30, no question. Oh no, you had shares at 10 and sold at 12? Bummer. Probably right here. Right in that whole shakeout. Man. All right, I've been talking for an hour and a half. My throat is dry. I'm hungry. Any closing thoughts, you guys? Anything? You know, if you like this kind of analysis and you'd like to participate in it all day, every day, come check out my trading community at bitcoinschmitcoin.com. It's a 24-hour trading community with loads of experienced traders, some loads of new people. So lots of diverse discussion going on in there. Again, if you'd like to check that out, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and sign up there. Okay. As the crypto market starts to progress, you know, and do more interesting things, then you know, I'll do these streams more. But I'm not gonna stream just for the sake of streaming. You know, I love you guys, and it's fun, but it also it's just hard to talk about things that, you know, there's nothing to talk about, especially when there's like Twitter trolls and all that stuff that just like shit on your calls and you know and all that stuff. So it's just like why spend the time talking about something that doesn't need the effort or time to talk about, right? So maybe there'll be impromptu in the future, but as the Bitcoin market begins to turn around, maybe it turns around at this current price level, right? Maybe it sees a breakout and maybe it holds support. And if that's the case, then I'll do this stuff regularly again, you know, once a week, twice a week, whatever you guys want, as the information calls for it. But until then, I'm just, you know, I'm not, I might not be posting as much on Twitter, but I'm still just as active in my trading community. So again, check that out. If you want to hear more of what I have to say, then go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com. It's in the top right corner. And join the trading community. Yeah. Other than that, just keep an eye out for this level, you know, that we talked about earlier, and don't get too caught up in the chop, and don't stare at the charts too long. All right. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.